Well, the banks did not want you to know that they had all these defaults on their books. It's all of those derivatives, which is just a big bet. The zombie corporations. But all we see is the peak of the iceberg. The whole world is the Titanic, and we've already run into the iceberg. So what's a zombie corporation? That is a corporation that for at least 3 years have not generated enough income to pay all of the interest on their debt. Forget any of the principal. So what's been happening with them? How have they been allowed to emerge? Well, the banks did not want you to know that they had all these defaults on their books. So what I'm looking at here and what this is telling me is that the banks are no longer willing to cover that up or have the ability to cover up the defaults. Otherwise, they would just continue to loan them even more money, which made sense in zero interest rate policy, right? Because you could service a whole lot more debt at zero interest rates than you can at 4 or 5 or 6%, right? So they didn't want you to see all of these defaults, and what they did was continue to loan them money when they should have been getting rid of all of that debt and rolling over the higher interest rates into the lower interest rates. Well, guess what? They had an opportunity perhaps to survive. But instead of servicing and getting out of those high interest rates, they just took on more and more and more debt. Now the banks are going, nope, we can't hide it anymore. It's too big. Really? Let's look at this, because this is refinancing demand so that is rolling that debt over. Remember, if you got debt, you got to service it, you got to roll it over, you got to pay it off, or you're going to default on it. Those are your 4 options, okay? So speculative grade debt represents a growing share of upcoming maturities. We have spoken ad nauseum about the looming debt wall that is already here. So this is just in 2024. This is 12 months, 2 trillion. 24 months, so 2 years, 4.52 trillion. This is more coming up. 8.5%, 19.3% of the debt that has to be rolled over from these zombie companies, from these junk rate companies. And in 36 months, that's 31.1%. If the banks aren't lending, if credit's really getting tighter, how in the world are they going to roll this over? They're not. They're going to default. And quite honestly, it is just that simple. Let's just make it easy. This is tremendous, because it's not just the trillions that you're looking at here, but it's all of those credit default swaps. It's all of those collateralized loan obligations. It's all of those derivatives, which is just a big bet that hides the true value at risk. You can't see it. It's that, I talk about it all the time, but all we see is the peak of the iceberg. The whole world is the Titanic. We've already run into the iceberg. The ship is going down. I'm showing you that. The ship is going down. This isn't my opinion. This is just what reality is. How are you going to choose to handle that? Because you're looking at a tremendous amount of speculative grade debt and other debt too that needs to roll over. I'm just showing you the corporations that aren't really earning enough to be able to roll this debt over. Between 41% to 44% of B minus, that's speculative, that's junk. I don't want to call it speculative. It's junk. It's real simple. It's junk. And lower in the US, we have no idea of the impact that could have. How do you go bankrupt? Slowly at first and then quickly.